Happy Friday, y'all. How are you? Or is it still sweltering hot where you are? It's pretty hot here. And it's that ugly, muggy hot. The humidity is high, which is not something that happens in these parts of the world very often. It's just like ugly, cloudy, muggy hot today. But not feeling that vibe at all. But a vibe I am feeling is my package from Bleep came today. And they, of course, as they always do, fucked part of the order up. I swear, Bleep. This is what I was complaining about in my Aphex Twin video the other day. Bleep, I swear, and I'm not exaggerating, every single order I create with Bleep goes wrong. They fuck something up. Every time, man. Every fucking time. It's crazy. Yeah, they usually send the wrong item, or what they do send is damaged, and it's already damaged before. The packaging will be fine, but then you'll pull the record out and it's damaged, which means that they knew it was damaged. Someone saw that it was damaged, and they still put it in the box and shipped it. Bleep has become the greatest. They have done a 180. They were the greatest mail order record company on the planet. Now they're the worst. I hold my breath every single time I order something from Bleep. I hate saying it. I love Warp. Warp is arguably my favorite label of all time. But damn, their mail order is a joke. Bleep, if any of you ever watch this video, get your shit together, will you? Holy God. The only good thing about Bleep is they don't answer your concerns. Like you'll email them and they won't respond. Your only recourse is to go to PayPal and open a claim, and they don't respond to that either. And if a seller doesn't respond to the claim, then PayPal will automatically give the buyer their money back. So at least there's that. At least you get that bonus. But they send you the wrong stuff all the time, and they don't care. They're just like, whatever, we're not responding to you either. Tough shit. Big pain in the ass. So they screwed up something today, and I'll get to that. But I'll get to the music. This, Bytes, Black Dog, one of the greatest electronic albums of all time. I would easily put this in my top 10 electronic albums, and one of the greatest albums on Warp. I rank this up there with anything Aphex has done, anything Atypic has done, anything Boards of Canada have done. This is one of the greats, and I'm really excited that Warp decided to reissue this. They should. If you don't know this, you need to know it. If you watch my channel and you respect my opinion, you need to get this. This is a beautiful, absurdly ahead of its time record. Of the two Black Dog records that got reissued, this and Spanners, and I'll talk about Spanners in a minute, I think a lot of people, Spanners is their favorite, and I'm not going to argue that. It's an opinion. Spanners is a great album, but I think you got to consider the years these came out. Spanners came out in 95. This came out in 93. To me, that makes a difference. If you're listening to music that's way ahead of its time, maybe you had to be there. Those of you who watch this, who were there, who were listening to this as it came out, I'd like to hear your opinion on this, because this is one of the great electronic albums, period. It doesn't compare to Spanners to me, because this came out 2 years before Spanners. That means a lot. It makes a difference. It's important. It's significant. What's going on here it's crazy. And Spanners is crazy too. It's a brilliant album, but this came out before that. When you want to talk about music that's way absurdly ahead of its time, I think you've got to tip your hat to this. Unbelievably good record. One of the best. Warp made a very sound choice in reissuing this. It deserves it. Excuse me for a sec. It's really hot here. I need water. Fantastic. If you love experimental music, and I know most of you do, and you haven't heard this, man, What are you doing? You got to check this out. I know a lot of you who watch this channel, you're all industrial heads. You got to put the industrial stuff aside for a minute. I hope that's not all you listen to 24/7. If you do, that's sad. That's very sad. You need to expand your horizons a little bit. Why not start here? If you want to take a break from that sound, right here, man. Of all the records I've talked about on this channel, this would be in my top 5. Absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt. Beautiful music. And this is the first time, in my opinion, that instrumental electronic music had intense soul and funk and humanity to it. That didn't really exist in the 80s, and it did sometimes, like with ambient music in particular, like Brian Eno. It existed there, but in terms of intricate electronic dance laden music, this is one of the most soulful albums you will ever hear. This is, in the early 90s, British people were taking that Detroit sound and turning it into something absolutely new. This is probably the greatest example of that. And that's what Warp was, really. I mean, Warp, a lot of what Warp stood for at that point. Like I said in the Aphex video, I don't know what Warp stands for now. They almost have no identity anymore. But back here at this time, in the late 80s, early 90s, Warp stood for something. It stood for taking really that Detroit techno sound and turning it into something new, turning it on its head and giving it a very distinctly British take, which is what this is. Arguably the best album of that ilk. It's hard to describe what this sounds like. I'm not even going to try. If you like techno, electro, house, ambient, jazz, soul, funk, all of that, it's all here. All mixed together beautifully. Arguably the greatest time that's ever happened right here. It's almost impossible to describe how beautiful this album is. It is, for me, it's hard to describe. I mean, it's just a gorgeous piece of art. Everything from the sleeve to the records. This, by the way, is a very sound, solid pressing. That's one thing Warp still does well. They don't ship records well. They don't package records well. They have horrible, abysmal customer service, but they do awesome pressings. The reissues are almost always great. There are some exceptions. Those of you who bought the Boards of Canada reissues know what I'm talking about. There are exceptions. For the most part, though, they do an unbelievable job. And this absolutely should be reissued. I have this. I have two. This is my third copy of this. That's how much I love this record. I played it to death. Okay, I love this record. An amazing piece of work. I have the original 1993 issues. One's on black wax. The other one is on like this bronze gold colored wax. The bronze one is not awesome just because it's a funky color. It's never sounded that great. Black one is good. This is on like a bluish, I'll show it to you in a minute. This is like on a blue, like electric neon blue almost color, and it sounds good. I was surprised. It sounds good. I don't know if you picked up the black or the blue one. I got the blue one. Again, I have it on black and bronze. I love this album enough where I thought, I'm getting another copy. I want to hear if they've remastered it. I did listen to it. It does sound a little remastered, a little more slick, but not much. You don't need to tweak the music that much. This music was way ahead of its time, and it still sounds that way 30 years later. Very nice, lush packaging. You get the gatefold sleeve. It's a very true reimagining of the original press. With the exception of the color, it looks perfect. There's my download code falling out of the gatefold. I think I mumbled about that yesterday, how I don't like that. If you're going to put download codes in records, put them here. Stick them on the inner sleeve here. Why? Stop putting the cards in there so they can fall all over the place and get lost. Stick them on here. But this is a poly-lined inner. That's what Warp does. They think about it. They think about those things. Here's the color. I really like this color. I mean, in terms of the two other colors I already have, this is my favorite. And it's pressed. If you're thinking about picking this up, it's pressed exactly the way the originals are. You don't get any non-fill here. Warp pays attention to that. I think it helps that they have the master tapes to this. There's no reason for them to deviate from their original construction of the pressings. Why would you? In my experience from buying Bleep reissues, they don't mess with that. They pretty much press the records exactly the way they were pressed originally. And this is a really good press. And the music's even better. Labels are exactly the same. I don't see any differences, really. I would highly recommend picking this up. Bytes is a compilation of sorts. It's collecting a lot of music that the trio made. Some of the music is music that the trio made together. Some of it is what two of the guys made together. Some of the music is what one of the guys made, but it's all from the three guys. And when I say three guys, I mean Ken Downie, Ed Handley, and Andy Turner. Three awesome producers. And you will know Handley and Turner from their still going duo, Plaid, one of my favorite groups. Absolutely one of the anchors of the Warp label. Some of my favorite records are Plaid records. I'll do a video on Plaid at some point. And I am, in a lot of ways, with this video. They basically put out this and Spanners and an array of 12 inches, and then they split up, and Turner and Handley went and did Plaid, and Downie is still Black Dog to this day. Different guys are in the group with him, but he's the driving force. I always wondered what it would be like if those three got together again now and made music. It'd be interesting. But this is kind of a compilation. It takes tracks from different names that they used, and they slam it all together here. That's not to say this doesn't work. It does. Oh my God, this record does nothing but work. Please, yeah, if you like this channel and you like what I talk about, and you enjoy what I have to say about music in general, listen to what I say now. This is one of the best records I've ever heard, and it absolutely is one of the best 3 or 4 records I've talked about on this channel. I love this record. If you want electronic music that is aching with emotion and soul, look no further. I am really glad that Warp chose this to reissue. It's time. Beautiful record. God. Records don't get better than this. I can't recommend this highly enough. Warp, thank you for reissuing this. If this reaches a whole new generation of people because of this reissue, then your label has absolutely served its purpose. This record has changed my life. I've been listening to this off and on for 30 years. It's just one of those albums, you know. It gets me through the thick and the thin, the good and the bad, the happy and the intense. Beautiful album. Not a bad song. I'm not going to pick through the songs and try to choose a favorite. It all flows together. I can't listen to one specific song without listening to the whole album. Unbelievable. Unbelievable record. I'm excited for you guys to listen to this if you choose to. You are in for a treat if you've never heard it. Just do it. You industrial guys who are always watching my videos, you guys get super excited about industrial music, and I do too. This is the shit that I get excited about, super excited about. Not to say I don't love any record I've ever talked about on this channel. I love them all. But you industrial heads who, or rivet heads, I should say, rivet heads, those of you who really love the vast majority of what I've been pumping out lately in terms of my videos, this this changed the landscape, even for industrial music. This is truly experimental music. But what records like this did is it took that experimentation and it put a melody to it. It's hard to sound experimental when your music is also making your heart ache with melodies. And that didn't happen very often. It did here. Intensely talented producers who introduced something absolutely new to the world with these albums. Check them out. This is Spanners. I've noticed in recent years people have really started to connect with this album. I'm not sure why that is. Back when this came out, I don't know that it got, I don't know if people were excited about it as much then as they are now, but time does that. Things start to grow on you. I love this record from the start. Do I like it more than Bytes? No. But it's still amazing. It's Black Dog, for God's sakes. And this is a very faithful reissue. Gatefold sleeve, just like the original. And with a lot of reissues, the covers will look like this shitty reprocessed pixelated nonsense. Not here. I mean, this looks exactly like the original issues, as far as I can see. I had the original issue in my hand this morning. It looked exactly the same. A bonus of Warp re-releasing their own stuff. That's a bonus. Now this is where Warp fucked up. Poly sleeves. I ordered this on orange wax. I ordered this on orange wax and it came on black. Here are the labels. I already have this on black. I asked for orange. Thanks, Warp. You fucks. So, yeah. I put a message into them and they won't respond to it. And yeah, who knows what will happen from there. I'm certainly not looking forward to it, but yeah, oh well. Sorry, I had hoped to show you some shiny orange vinyl, but that's not going to happen. Excellent pressing, though. I dropped the needle down, and it sounds every bit as good as the original. Absolutely worth having on any color. Amazing album. Like I mentioned before, better than Bytes? I don't think so. Still excellent. I think maybe I might be wrong about this too. I think one of the reasons why people have appreciated this more is I remember several years ago, Pitchfork put out like the top 50 IDM albums. By the way, IDM, is there a more annoying way to describe music? IDM, really? Jesus. The worst. Out of all of the shitty genre tags, big beat, ambient, cold wave, IDM is the absolute worst, man. Who the hell came up with that stupid name? Aphex Twin came up with a much better title, Brain Dance. Brain Dance I can get behind. Brain Dance. One of the best brain dance albums there is. Super, super awesome stuff. But Pitchfork came out with a top 50 IDM records several years ago, and they put this in the top 50. Bytes wasn't there. I mean, whatever, it's someone's opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd even put this in the top 50. It was actually a decent list, and half of the releases were on Warp. So the person who made the list, he knew that Warp was the label that you needed to turn to. I disagreed heavily with some of them. Some of them you're like, what? But it's someone's opinion. Whatever. It is what it is. I think there's a way of objectively looking at electronic albums, though. As someone who's been a professional reviewer myself, there's a way to objectively look at records if you know your shit. The Pitchfork list came across as someone who didn't maybe quite know their shit. Maybe they did. I didn't think they did. To put this above Bytes, that was the big red flag to me. They're both great albums, but when you're thinking about forward-thinking music that's way ahead of its time, how do you put this above Bytes? If you disagree with me, please let me know. I'd love to hear your opinions. It's an awesome album. I'm not trying to denigrate this at all. But in the top 50 of all time, yeah, come on now. That's pushing it a little bit. Bytes, absolutely. Yes. Now, I'm going to talk about, I think it's important to discuss these records too if we're talking about this kind of music, because these, if you were there and you were paying attention, as I was, and you're buying these records at the time, these records are essential. If you're going to get Bytes and Spanners, you should check these out too. This is on Rising High. You electronic freaks out there, remember this label? Oh yes. Every time you saw this, you're like, this was right up there with Warp, man, back in the day. If you saw something on Rising High, you got excited because it was going to be cool. Yes, indeed. Black Dog Productions. All four of the tracks on this EP are not on Bytes or Spanners. Exclusive to this. This came out in 1993, I think, right? 93? 92. The year before Bytes. This is every bit as ground shaking and bowel quaking as Bytes, and this came out a year earlier. Words fail me. This is a beautiful 12-inch, man. And there's enough music on here to almost be an album. You know, there's well over half an hour of music on here. It's 4 long, fully realized tracks. These are producers of soul, man. They had a lot to say musically. Beautiful music. And if you like Plaid too, you haven't heard this, you need to hear this. This is early Plaid, early Black Dog. This is what these guys were doing. Amazing stuff. Electronic music of the highest quality. It does not get any better. And this might be it's just a personal feeling. This might be my all-time favorite Plaid Black Dog related record. This is Balil. And this was Ed Handley all by himself. Ed Handley is half of Plaid right now and part of the Black Dog trio. He did this on his own, and I wanted to throw this in there because this is an amazingly beautiful 12-inch. It's a 4-tracker. This is Ed Handley out on his own. And this is 4 tracks of some of the most beautifully inspired, executed, engineered electronic dance music you will ever hear in your life. Balil, Parasite. Oh my God. Look at this label, study it, find it, and love it. The track Parasite in particular, and I will link you to it. I'll send you some links, at least one link of all these releases. I love this record, man. And 92, I think this came out in 92 as well. 93. Okay, I thought the Black Dog 12-inch came out in 93 and this was 92. It's the other way around, 93. And Parasite was also on Artificial Intelligence 2, the second one. I should do a video on the AI series, right? The Fuse and Atypic and Black Dog, all the original Polygon Window. What do you guys think about that? I'll pull out my AI series. Electronic music does not get any better. This is mind-blowing stuff, man. Every time I hear Parasite, I get tingles. I get shivers. One of my favorite tracks of all time. Like at the time, I couldn't conceive that electronic music could be this emotional, this well produced, this human. And it is here. Ed Handley, thank you very much for creating this 12-inch. I deeply appreciate it. You have created one of the few moments in history where electronic music can have true human soul and humanity. Balil, Parasite. But these just came out. I wanted to big up Warp for doing these presses. I do not want to big up Bleep. They can kiss my fucking ass. But I do want to big up Warp for reissuing these. If these find a new audience, that's really good because they need to, especially this, Bytes. 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 You want to be introduced to a hidden gem. If you haven't been paying attention, you've never heard this. You have got some listening to do. You have homework to do, man. Get to it. Start listening. ASAP. Cool. Thanks. I'll talk to you later. Bye.